Welcome to Strangest Species. Season 2. Not episode 2. Season 2. Episode 7. Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Davis, here with my co-host, Anthony Davis.
That's me.
How you doing tonight, babe?
Hot.
Oof, yeah.
So hot.
We are like very abnormally hot for Spokane.
Yep. And the whole area, really.
107 today.
Yeah.
But it's been like 10 days straight.
Of over 100 degrees, which is legitimately crazy for here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been on the water for 4 days straight. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, so have I actually. Now that I think about it. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today. Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Well, you actually are 5 days. Well, night. You were there all night too.
That's
on Wednesday
true.
night. So.
And tomorrow we're going to go float the river after work.
Yeah.
So.
The only way to survive.
We're going to get a reprieve. It's going to get cold. It's going to get like 92.
Yeah. I mean, if that's considered cold. It's
I did see next week it's supposed to be like 75, but now it's up to low 80s, I think.
Oh, yeah. Everything says 90s all the way through. I guess there is an 80 in there. 82. Yeah. I see
82 is going to feel amazing.
Yeah, it
Get
is.
a little breeze there. It's going to
feel great.
Get a hoodie out.
Yeah. No, we were so hot. I mean, many episodes of excessive heat.
Yeah.
Gassing up the boat.
Oh, my goodness.
Putting the cover on the boat.
So sweaty.
So sweaty. Unloading all the vehicles. It was just
Everything.
Yeah.
It's true.
So hot.
Yeah. I was at a camp for teenage boys Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Youth camp. Yeah.
A youth camp. And I was running some waterfront activities. So that was good because I was in the water.
By far had the best location.
Oh, it was so nice.
Mine was terrible last year.
I stood in the water all day long.
Which is
like it was
ideal.
I made up. I was in charge of some canoeing stuff, but I was like, these guys aren't going to want to just canoe. So I invented canoe basketball, and that turned into a very good thing for teenage boys. A lot of ramming into each other with canoes. And
it's very good for the canoe, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're aluminum. They're big, whatever. They're good. But the spot where we were canoeing, I could walk out probably 50 feet into the lake, and it was only like waist deep. And so instead of having to be in a canoe, I just walked out there in the middle of them and stood there. And it was fabulous. I could just dunk myself down, and
yeah,
it was really nice.
Yeah, that sounds dreamy.
It was pretty good.
Yep.
It was good. It was a lot of fun. It was funny. Me and two of the other... So this place is an old, not abandoned, but it's almost abandoned, scout camp. Like Boy Scouts of America camp. And they still own it, but there's no scouts anymore around here, really. Like, they're so few and far between that they rent it out to anybody. Like, we've looked at doing it for our own personal family reunions. Like, that's how cheap it is. But this campground's 1,000 acres almost. 980 acres. Yeah, it's massive. And there's one guy, super cool guy, that's in charge of maintaining it. But it's like...
impossible.
You and me can't take care of our house on a full-time basis, let alone 1,000 acres with all these outbuildings and all this, they have a big, huge dock, and they have, a huge lodge, and they have all these campgrounds and the trains, and it's just, every year it gets more and more run down. But, and so the other two waterfront guys and myself, and Ranger Leo, the guy I'm talking about who runs it, he's so cool. He's just like, you guys can sleep wherever you want. Like, pick any cabin you want, pick anything. I don't care. And so we decided we were going to stay in this one cabin right by the waterfront. And all the boys were camping, like tent camping, maybe a third of a mile away. It was pretty good distance away. And so the first night we're in there, and this little bunkhouse has 3 different bedrooms. And bedroom 1 has a bunk bed, and one guy was there. Bedroom 2 had a bunk bed. One guy was there. And then I was in this room with 4 bunk beds, a much bigger room. And so the first night, everything's fine. Second night, I wake up in the morning, and one of the guys is missing, and the other guy's moved his bunk bed to the other side of the room. So I'm like, what's happening, guys? And he's like, oh, you didn't hear the mice last night? I was like, I did not hear the mice last night. I was so tired and so much sun. But apparently there were mice running all over the place and climbing up on the one guy's bed, he said. So he moved out to his car, and the other guy pulled his bed away from the wall, and there was like an inch. I'm not joking, like an inch of mouse poop all along the wall. But at this point, I'd already tried sleeping in my truck the first night, and the mosquitoes were too bad, so I had nowhere else to go. So there was only one night left, and so the one guy went back to his car. The other guy and I stayed. And it was like 10 o'clock at night, and he's sitting on top of his bunk, and I'm standing there. And he points into the other room, and it's like, hey, Mike, is that a big mouse hole over there in the corner? And I was like, I don't think so. So I walk over, and sure enough, the mouse hole runs. Because it wasn't a mouse hole. It was an actual mouse that he could see from across the way. And so he starts freaking out. Like, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. But there's nothing in this room. There's me and
bunk beds.
That's it. But there was a fire extinguisher. So I grabbed the fire extinguisher, and I was actually pretty impressed with my skills. I slammed it down on the ground and actually smashed the mouse with the fire extinguisher.
I'm glad the fire extinguisher didn't explode.
Me too. Well, that's what I told him first. I was like, should I spray it with the fire extinguisher? He's like, no, don't spray it. Don't spray it.
And 2, that's so nasty because it crunch.
Yeah. I'm sure it wasn't the most pleasant way to go.
Ugh. Just get a kitty. They need kitties.
I wish I had one of our cats.
Yeah, they need like...
They would have loved it.
Like barn kitties, shed kitties. Each kitty lives in one of those things.
Yeah, if you went and got like 5 feral cats for that place, it would be very helpful.
Yeah.
And Maple would have loved it. There were ground squirrels everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Zipping all over the place.
Yeah.
So I felt bad for the mouse, but he couldn't stay in there.
No, I wouldn't be able to sleep with a mouse,
No.
in my space.
But I didn't hear any other mice. So I don't know if that was the only mouse.
Or you slept right through everyone else.
Or I slept through all the other mice. Or because we left him there all night as a sign to the other mice that if you come out of your walls, you're going to get fire extinguished.
I'm sure that's what it was.
So that might have scared him off.
Okay. The Adventures of Youth Camp.
Yeah.
I can't even go into mine.
Yeah.
It's too much.
It's fun, though.
Oh, yeah. It's super fun. Yeah.
So, cool. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm good.
Anything else happening? There's so much happening in life.
So much happening. But no, I'm good.
You just want to get out of this room.
Yeah, I'm really hot.
So hot.
It's really hot.
Okay, well, we have a little ways to go.
That's fine.
Alrighty. Any ideas what we're going to talk about today?
I'm thinking something cold. Like something in the mountains or something with snow or swimming under ice.
I like swimming under ice.
Do you?
No, I would hate that. I like that as an idea. I'm sure there's some stories of that.
People thinking they're funny and swimming under ice and then getting stuck under there. So something terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to find something like that.
It just sounds really good right now.
No, we're going hot today.
Oh, okay.
We're keeping a theme. It's like 4D. Like you can feel the story as the sweat drips down your back.
4D. I get it.
Yeah.
Not the number 40 for anyone who doesn't get it. It's like 3D, 4D. If you've ever been to like those, they have them at Universal Studios and like Disneyland. You're not just watching it with 3D glasses on, but you are literally getting like sprayed with water and bumped with a mouse running by.
There's wind.
Wind.
Yeah, those things are fun.
They're fun. So we're having a 4D experience, but not you guys, just us.
Yeah. Well, if it's sweaty where you are, you can do that too. So today we're going to something a little different. We're not going to talk about so much oftentimes we do historical stories or things like that. Today we're going to go with more of a pop culture angle.
Oh, I'll be really good at this.
Yeah. And we're going to look at what happens when a worldwide event changes pop culture. And we're going to look at a very specific event that changed another very specific thing that cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. And the other caveat to this story is I personally got to experience this thing. And not many people out there can say that because it was a very short, limited thing.
Are you talking about Hurricane Katrina?
No, but I did experience that.
You did.
And I actually do have a story someday we might do about that. That's very interesting. Not about my experience with it, but about Hurricane Katrina.
Okay.
That I I've pondered many times. Like I've looked into it, but haven't actually gone full story with.
Okay.
So we're going to start our story in Anaheim, California, 1955. Ethne, you're married to me. What's going on in Anaheim, California in 1955?
Disneyland is being built.
Disneyland opens.
Disneyland is built.
It is built. It opens. It revolutionizes what a theme park was to this day. Even though they're going to be in big trouble here in the next few weeks.
Right.
Because about 40% of their staff members are going to go on strike.
Yeah.
And there will be no Disneyland here in the near future for a little while. That'll be
super interesting.
I mean, I guess they could still avoid not striking, but they voted 99% to go on strike. So
I guess
unless Disney offers them a ton of money tomorrow.
All right.
Don't be going to Disneyland the next few weeks.
Well, I'm sure there's people that have pre-booked out.
Oh, it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
If they actually do it. And it sounds like they're going to. But we're not talking about that right now.
All right.
So maybe you didn't know this. So Disneyland opened. It was great. It revolutionized lots of things. We have a little theme park here called Silverwood. It's not that little. I mean, it's little compared to like a Six Flags, but it has like 5, 6, 7 roller coasters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a big water park. And it's great.
It's perfect.
But it's totally knockoff. Like there's so many things in there are direct knocks off of Disneyland. And you probably wouldn't know that because all theme parks have direct knockoffs of Disneyland. The music, the way it's decorated, so much. But in the 1980s, the Disney company actually hit a big, I won't say they hit rock bottom, but they were doing really poorly financially.
That's when they started Disney Pixar, right?
No, this is
in the 80s. Oh,
pre-Pixar. They did fire their CEO, and they brought in a new CEO by the name of Michael Eisner. Now, Michael Eisner's main job was to bring Disney back. And let's go with this. Tell me some of your favorite 1980s Disney movie, like Disney cartoon movies.
I mean,
you're not going to be able to tell me any.
I was going to say, I don't think that I was so little too. I think most of my movies are 90s movies.
They are.
Yeah.
I think the pinnacle of 1980s Disney was The Black Cauldron.
That was the pinnacle?
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, you were saying that there isn't anything from...
Is The Brave Little Toaster from 1980s?
Yes.
I liked that one.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Brave Little Toaster was an official Disney movie.
Oh, I don't know.
I believe, I can't think of his name right now. The guy who did that one was the one who started Pixar.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyways. But yeah, that's what I mean when I say, tell me your favorite movie. There isn't any.
Yeah, I don't think there are many.
Because Disney was really, really, really struggling.
Okay.
I think maybe Rescuers.
Ooh, I like the Rescuers.
Not Rescuers. That one might have been earlier. Maybe Fox and Hound. We're getting out of like it doesn't matter. This isn't a Disney history podcast. But Michael Eisner came in, and his job was to revamp the parks, revamp the movies, revamp everything. And he did a really good job because he did make movies such as The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Hercules, like all these ones that really
are the best.
Lion King brought it screaming back. All these Alan Menken composed, musics. But he also needed to get the parks back in shape. And one of those plans he really wanted to do was to add a second park to Southern California.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah, so there was Disneyland, but that was it, right?
Right.
And they had Disney World, and he was also the one that greenlit Animal Kingdom in Disney World.
California Adventure.
So we're going to get to California Adventure, yeah. But it's hard to believe back in 1955, when Disneyland first started, it was not the money-making machine it is now.
Right.
It was much, much smaller, and Walt Disney essentially sunk every penny he had into making it. Even to the point that the rides, when Disneyland opened, all had individual sponsors.
That's cool.
And he actually did a TV show on ABC leading up to the opening of Disneyland for a couple of years that kind of would show Disneyland.
Okay.
To help pay for it. But when Disneyland opened, he could not afford to build a hotel. And so he actually went to another local oil and TV tycoon and asked him if he would build the Disneyland Hotel, which he did. What this meant for Michael Eisner in the 1980s was that Disney did not own much of the property surrounding Disneyland. So it's hard to build a park when you don't have the land. And Anaheim doesn't have a lot of free land because, well, Disneyland's there and it's all been taken up. So that's where he was. But the original plan was to build a new park in Long Beach, down where the cruise ships are. Mm-hmm. And guess what that one was that they wanted to build?
Like the name of it?
Mm-hmm.
Long Beach Alley.
Disney Sea.
Oh.
Which is Disney's...
Tokyo Disneyland.
Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's their...
Second park.
And
it's the best.
It is literally, and I really do mean literal, it is
amazing.
Many times overvoted the number one theme park in the world.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is.
It's its own thing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. For anyone who is debating on going to Japan just to see Japan, there's a lot of people out there that love, Japanese culture, Japanese food, or anime stuff. I mean, you have to go to Disney Sea. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Best curry I've ever had in my life.
I think that was actually Disneyland.
I think
Tokyo Disneyland. I don't think that was Disney Sea.
Either way.
Yeah, you were freezing and you were hungry.
Cold and so hungry. And it was hot and really good. So, but that didn't work out, obviously.
No.
They did not put it in Long Beach.
Nope. Long Beach does not have a Tokyo Disney Sea. Or a Disney Sea of any kind.
Any kind of Disney Sea. But it did end up being built in 2001 in Japan. So they decided to build, well, maybe I'm skipping ahead. At some point in the 80s, they did get the opportunity to buy the Rather Company, which is the company that owned the Disneyland Hotel and the surrounding property. So now they own all that. So now they really can push forward with the second park. So they decided they were going to build Westcott, which was essentially the equivalent of Epcot in Florida, but
call
a West Coast version.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. So that was the plan.
But it didn't go through either.
But they opened Disneyland Europe, or the Paris Disneyland, and that was a huge financial disaster. It failed miserably.
Isn't it still open, though?
It is still open.
Oh.
And so it's recovered. But the initial launch was...
terrible, huh?
Terrible. And after that, because of that, the park budget got drastically cut. And so there was no more money for Westcott.
Mm.
Womp, womp, womp. So...
I wonder why Disneyland Paris was so bad. Just the people didn't gravitate to it?
Well, when I was doing research for this story, I'd come across another person talking about it, saying like it's its own thing, like it's its own epic story. So I'm sure there's a lot more, but I didn't go into it at all.
Gotcha. Well, now we need to go there.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to go to Shanghai first, but
okay.
Well, as far as Disney parks, I'd rather go to Europe than China.
Sure.
Just individually.
I want to go all the places.
All the places.
Yeah.
Like out of this room.
I mean, all over the world, but in this exact moment, sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of what was going on for a while. Things were kind of in limbo. And then an idea was pitched to Michael Eisner by actually the president of Disneyland. And he's noted that Disneyland brought guests in from all over, and that oftentimes after spending a day or two at Disneyland, they would go check out other famous California landmarks because they're like, well, we're already here. Let's go to Hollywood. Let's go
I for sure would agree with that.
Napa Valley. Let's go to the Golden Gate Bridge. Let's go, wherever. And so they had an idea. What if we made a second park, but we put all of California's famous landmarks in the park, and then people just stay here?
Disney California Adventure.
And lo and behold, they decided to build Disney California Adventure. Now, at the time, it wasn't called Disney's California Adventure. It was just California Adventure. Mm-hmm. And it opened, I want to say in 2001.
I don't know. I believe you.
Around there.
Yeah.
But the park still had major budgetary concerns when they were building it. And so when it opened, there were only 3 thrill rides in the whole park.
Okay.
California Screamin'. which is now the Incredicoaster.
Incredicoaster soaring over California. That wasn't the original?
Nope.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Actually, soaring? Okay. That's a good question. Doing my research, it said there were only 3. But the reason I went to California Adventure the year it opened. And I want to say soaring over California was there. But I've been many times, so maybe I'm confusing that.
Maybe so.
But I feel like it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either way, I guess it's not a thrill ride.
I guess you're right. If they're
it's a very
defining
relaxing ride, but it's the most amazing ride.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's also very 4D. Mm-hmm. You smell lots of good things.
Yeah.
No, there's the Incredicoaster, or not the Incredicoaster. Now it's the Incredicoaster. California Screamin', which is a big metal roller coaster. It's good. There was the Maliboomer.
What's the Maliboomer?
It's not there anymore.
Okay.
You know where the little Inside Out ride is? Mm-hmm. That's where it was. And it was like a panic plunge. How would you describe that kind of a ride?
Like a drop.
Like a drop ride.
Like a drop of doom.
Like one of those ones, you get in a little seat, it lifts you up.
Yeah, and then drops you.
Wherever and drops you. So that was that. And then the last one was a ride called Superstar Limo.
Ooh.
Yes.
Where was that one at?
That was in Hollywood section. So like off to the left, down Buena Vista, when you first walk in the park.
When you first walk in, yeah. Okay.
Now that
so
ride,
different now? Wow.
Oh, it's so different.
Yeah.
So California Adventure, not the point of the story, also epic failure.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That surprises me.
It was not well received, which is why it's no longer California Adventure.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It's now. So, we'll get into that here in a little bit. But when California Adventure opened, it was not Disney themed at all.
Right. It was California focused. Right.
Like the entry, the arch that you would walk into was the Golden Gate Bridge.
Right.
That's all long gone.
That is long gone. There's like the bear ride, because the symbol of California is the bear. And there's like those big rocky waterfalls to like make you feel like you're in all these awesome places that California offers.
Cozy, elegant. They have like the sourdough bread making. Mm-hmm. They have a winery. It was like these things that represent California, but there were no rides per se.
There were some, but not many. Mm-hmm.
There was the boardwalk, which had the roller coaster, but there were no, like where the Little Mermaid ride is now. Like that was some like Oprah Winfrey Tour of California movie or something. Like it wasn't at all. Maybe it was Whoopi Goldberg. I don't remember who it was. Somebody back there. But most importantly, there were no Disney characters.
Right.
There was no Mickey Mouse. There was no Pixar Pier like there is now. There's no.
Similar to Epcot-ish, a little bit, or no?
No, because Epcot still is. There's still characters at Epcot. So I guess kind of because it has the world tour. Yeah, and it is more adult themed, but still has more than California Adventure did when it opened.
Well, it's pretty awesome now.
It is really
my favorite ride by far.
What's your favorite ride?
Is the Cars ride.
Oh, yeah. So there's no Cars Land, obviously, back then.
It's by far my favorite ride.
It's a good ride.
I mean,
really fun memories there.
But that's also from California, which is kind of cool.
Does that take place in California?
Isn't Route 66 part of California?
Well, it ends in California, yeah.
I think, isn't that whole little town, Radiator Springs, in California?
It was in like Arizona or something.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was part of California. So I was like, isn't that kind of interesting how the park started out California? And then one of my favorite rides is, I thought, something that took place in California. Now, I could be wrong, but I just love that ride. Legitimately love it.
Yeah, I believe Route 66 ends in Santa Monica.
That's what I thought. We'll have to watch Cars again and see if they're actually in
California. I want to fly to Chicago, rent a car, and drive all of Route 66.
Really?
I think that'd be a fun thing to do with our daughter when she turns 16.
Oh, wow.
It's like, here, you can drive for as long as you want because there ain't no one else out here.
Because nobody uses it anymore? No. But it still is an open road that you can go on. Do you have to pay like a fee? So weird.
Lots of little ghost towns along it.
Why does nobody use it?
Because they built real interstates along it.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
Windy little.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I don't know. So it goes from Chicago to Santa Monica. It's interesting. Anyway.
None of that is at all what we're going to talk about. I mean, Superstar Limo.
Yes, Superstar Limo over to the left.
Yeah. So I went to California Adventure the year it opened, and it was very underwhelming. Lots and lots of shops and restaurants. Not many rides or shows.
Right.
Not what Disneyland is. Like I said, there's no theming. And the interesting thing about California Adventure, Disneyland does an amazing job of using trees to block out California. Like when you are in Disneyland, there is never a time where you can see anything that's not Disneyland. You don't see hotels. You don't see other buildings. When you're in, Adventureland, you are in Adventureland. California Adventure is not that.
Yeah,
you see hotels, you see the Anaheim Convention Center, you see,
Yeah. Now that you say that, I've never ever really noticed that, but yeah, you're right.
It's less intimate. How about that?
Sure.
And that was very true back then. I mean, it's very noticeable when you walk across the street from one to the other.
Okay.
So one of the themed lands in California Adventure was Hollywood. And the crown jewel of Hollywood was Superstar Limo. Now, Superstar Limo was designed to be a high-speed, fast-action dark ride where you were a movie star in a limo being chased by paparazzi. So it was kind of a hybrid. So obviously Disneyland's famous for their dark rides, where you sit down and you go through a little story or whatever. So this was a combo of that, but almost like a slower roller coaster as well.
Right.
So it would still whip you around. It would still be faster. It would still be more of a thrill ride than that, but still kind of in the dark ride category.
Okay.
I don't know of anything else to really compare it to.
The only thing that came to my mind was the Fast and Furious ride, but that's still very different too because you're like 3D glasses and it's way more modern now.
And you're just in a tram.
And a screen. Right.
At Universal.
Right. But it's dark and you feel like you're being chased. And
the Godzilla part's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was just when you said the chasing by the paparazzi and stuff.
That's true.
Anyway.
That's good. That's true. So the ride plot that Michael Eisner originally approved was this. You, Ethne, are a movie star.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
You're getting picked up by your limo at the LA airport.
Naturally.
They were purple limos, by the way. Sparkly purple limos.
Ooh.
Michael Eisner himself came on a video.
Whoa.
CEO of Disney. And he told you / warned you that he had a huge movie contract for you to sign. But the only way you had to get to the office without the paparazzi catching you because you didn't want to ruin your image or something like that. And then you would get in the ride, you would go through this crazy herky-jerky, in and out of traffic, paparazzi chasing you. And then eventually you would get to the Chinese Theater, which is a very famous theater in Los Angeles, and you would meet Michael Eisner. Sadly, when you got there, he would tell you you were caught, you'd been caught by the paparazzi, and that you no longer could sign your contract. And then you would exit through the gift shop, which was themed as the Chinese Theater, where you would then find pictures of yourself all over the tabloids. And then you could buy those pictures. And they had fake Oscars and they had all sorts of stuff, right? So that's the idea. And that's what they were going for. But then August of 1997, something happened in the world that changed the ride forever. Can you imagine what that would be in 97? And it's okay if you can't, because I don't think I would have been able to figure it out.
Is it Princess Diana?
Princess Diana died. And how did Princess Diana die?
Paparazzi.
Being chased by paparazzi.
Yeah, this is the first thing that came to my mind.
Right. And so, essentially, it was the exact ride of the premise of the ride.
Yeah. It's sort of terrible.
And they had a big problem because they feared that a high-speed limo ride might be deemed as insensitive, and if nothing else, would be very, very unpopular. Because the world mourned Princess Diana.
Oh, yes.
That was a big deal.
It was a huge deal, especially being in Canada as a British Commonwealth. It was like the world might end big deal.
Yeah.
So as a youth, but did this ride already come out before Princess Diana's, or was it literally
this was literally in the middle of construction?
Oh, this is such a nightmare.
So this is 97. I'm fairly certain it opened a couple years later at the park. But we're talking like already
invested a ton of money. Like no
like, oh, this is what we planned on doing. Like,
no, this is what we're doing. We're already fabricating this. It's taking us a year or two to fabricate. We are started fabrication.
Yes.
Dang. That sucks.
Yeah. So overnight, their star ride for this whole part of the park was rendered incredibly tasteless.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so they had to pivot really, really quickly, which is a really interesting concept. Like, this one event happens, and sure, it affects lots of things around the world. And this is just one thing it affected. But who would ever think that would completely change a ride at Disneyland?
Right. Not Disneyland, California.
California Adventure.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into what that meant, like, here in a minute.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's kind of funny.
Okay.
So they mulled over ideas. What can we do? How can we fix this? How can we change this? But again, they had a lot of budgetary concerns already.
For sure. That's kind of why if you have budgetary concerns, you kind of want to stop and see what you've already fabricated and how you can incorporate what you've already done from there and not have to clean slate everything. And so how do you incorporate
I do this
that?
Sometimes when I'm writing. Like I have like a chapter I really, really like. And then I go back and I change the story. And it's like, well, I really like this. I don't want to redo all this. How can I retrofit this back into the story now?
Yeah.
Because you're right. You've invested this time and this energy and
money
your heart
for their
and soul.
case.
And it's like, oh, man, we don't want to start over.
Right.
So, but they just couldn't come up with anything. And so it looked like they were just going to scrap it and not have a ride for this part of the park. But then you're leaving essentially 2 rides. I mean, you're opening this park had been in the talks, not specifically California Adventure, but having a second park at Disneyland for 30 plus years.
Right.
And this is what you're going to bring? Like
it's kind
a roller coaster?
Right. It's kind of not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then they got the idea. Okay, maybe they could just do kind of like a facelift of sort and kind of change some stuff about the ride. And so that's what they did. I'm going to throw it out there right now. It didn't go very well for them, but that's what they decided to do. Just kind of, we'll tweak it.
So what ride was it?
So it was still Superstar Limo.
Oh.
So when it opened, they opened with the ride called Superstar Limo.
But the premise was different.
But they changed it a little bit. And we'll get into what they changed.
Okay.
Now, I personally have ridden Superstar Limo. And I'll get to my thoughts on it here in a minute.
I personally have not.
But it was, So, yes, it's not there anymore. And so the first thing that had to go was the chase element.
Right.
You couldn't be chased by. And so it became a slow dark ride. It was no longer going to be fast. It was now just like Peter Pan or Snow White or Pinocchio.
Any of those ones
you just
in
get in
Fantasyland.
with your little kid and you just maneuver on through.
That doesn't seem...
Which I love still, but...
but there's the nostalgia of all those Disney's movies that put you into the set of the movie. If you're going in a dark limo when you're just touring Hollywood and all the things of Hollywood, I feel like it wouldn't really resonate with me.
No, totally.
Yeah.
And that's why carnival rides suck because they're cheap.
Right.
What Disney can sell to you that no one else can sell to you is nostalgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when there's not nostalgia, there's no... it's boring.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, the nostalgia is a huge component to that.
Yeah.
The childhood memories of those movies.
Not to get off topic, that's where Disney's struggling so bad right now.
Oh, yeah.
Is one, they're not creating anything anyone cares about. And 2, they're trying to sell us the new stuff when their bread and butter is selling you nostalgia.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely getting away from that.
If you opened, I mean, obviously you couldn't do this, but if you opened some crazy new Little Mermaid ride, or something, there'd be a whole 10 generations of people would love to go see.
I would be there in a heartbeat. Yeah.
But so they had to get rid of the chase.
I think they need to do a Tangled ride.
Yeah, it's true. They haven't really.
Tangled is so. I mean, resonates so much with like our kids.
Yeah.
Especially like.
Well, the interesting thing about Disney is they're known for their movies, right? But the movies really aren't. Well, I mean, the last few years they've lost tons of money with them. Generally speaking, they don't make a ton of money on their movies.
But that's what brings the nostalgia to the rides.
The merchandise.
Sure.
And the merchandise comes from the nostalgia.
Sure. Sure. But the movies are what start the whole, chain of domino chain. Right?
Right.
I mean, Little Mermaid will forever be my 4th grade birthday party and swimming like a mermaid and being the Little Mermaid for like a year of my life.
Right.
And
they make the movies.
Buying all the things.
Parks.
Yep.
Which drive the merchandise. Yep. And that's where the money is the merchandise.
Well, and not even that kind of merchandise at the parks, but like, I mean, our daughter wore a Tangled or Elsa nightie, let alone the dress-up dresses, let alone the stuffies, let alone, I mean, we don't even have to go to a park for any of that. That's just...
You know how I am.
All from the movies.
If I'm at a store and I see something with Mickey Mouse, I'm like, oh, I'm pretty good about not buying it now. But
I mean, really... like the Disney stores and all the stuff, the dress ups, all that kind of stuff. You don't even have to go to a park to support the business. But it's all because of the movie, right?
Yeah.
It's all from those movies.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, why can't we?
I was at TJ Maxx the other day in the purse section. I don't know why I was in the purse section.
You probably saw some merce with the Mickey on it.
Probably did. And they had all these little like clutches, right? And they're like, it's TJ Maxx. They're like $20. And then they had this itty bitty little clutch. We're talking like 5 inches by 4 inches. But it was a Mickey Mouse Prince and the Pauper, that old cartoon. And it was an actual Loungefly one. And I was like, well, that's cute. Maybe Vienna would like that. And it was like $75 still.
Even Loungefly, yeah.
Even at
TJ Maxx.
Forget that.
Forget that. It's like TJ Maxx still knows where it's at. They know what's worth what people will spend their money on.
I don't remember how much it was, but it was way more than everything else.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyways, they had to get rid of the chase. The other thing that Disney is really, really, really good at, well, they used to be really, really good at it, are the intricate detail in the rides.
Oh, for sure.
Especially with the audio animatronics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like the, Pirates or Haunted Mansion, these very lifelike robots and things that just make the whole ride come to life.
I mean, the ghost sitting with you blew my mind in 4th grade. Literally blew my mind.
So the ghost dancing in the ball or in the like.
Oh, that blew my mind too.
Yeah.
Oh,
like I was obsessed with that as a little kid.
My mind was absolutely blown. Like couldn't even. I don't even know. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of those things really put Disney on the map with what they did. And so, guests have so much to look at in those dark rides, and the details are so specific that even though you're going slow, you still can't take it all in, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, that wasn't so much the case for Superstar Limo because you were supposed to go fast. Now, all of a sudden that you were going slow, it was like, whoa, this is drastically under decorated.
Well, yeah. What do you?
And it just looked really, really bad as you crept along.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, are you going to drive down Rodeo Drive and then see the Hollywood sign on the thing and like you're just cruising? Maybe it could be okay. I don't know.
Yeah. So they needed something to spice it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they decided to do this by adding celebrities because it's LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, due to budgetary concerns, they could only use the likeness of celebrities who they already had under contract.
Mm.
And so...
And at that time, who knew?
Well, so the mishmash of characters they got were Joan Rivers, Cher, Jackie Chan, Regis Philbin, Tim Allen, Cindy Crawford, Drew Carey, and then couple Melanie Griffith and Antonio Banderas.
No comments.
So, I mean, this is what you get. Like, yay, there's a new park. I'm riding a limo, and I'm seeing characters. This is in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking like 92, maybe this is great.
But yeah, that's rough.
The other thing was, instead of lifelike animatronics, they just were pretty cheap 2D figures.
Oh,
wow. It was like you and me painted, some wood of these guys and put them in there, and then like the whole thing rocked back and forth.
Oh, wow.
There were some. I think Regis was actually 3-dimensional, like his head popped around a corner or something like that, But it was very gimmicky. It was very Carnival-esque.
Yeah.
Not up to Disney standards.
For surely not.
All.
Yeah.
And, for example, Drew Carey just stood there rocking back and forth holding like Hollywood maps and saying something or whatever. The other thing that went bye-bye was Michael Eisner himself. He's like, I don't want my face anything on this ride.
Now that it can't be what the ride is, yeah.
And so he was replaced. It was really creepy. It was a puppet. It was like a TV show still, like when you got on the ride. But it was like this puppet, but he was like this bald, skeezy, sleazy agent with a big cigar. And it was just like rough and gruff, and he was your agent. And it was just really weird.
This sounds so terrible. I can't even handle it.
And so, with all that being said, they finished it up, and they were like, well, let's open it and see what happens. And have you ever been in a situation like that where something's just not that good, but you have no choice but to go with it at that point?
I definitely know that I've had assignments where it was my own fault. I kind of procrastinated, and it's like, this is definitely not my best work, and I'm kind of embarrassed to turn this in, but this is as good as it's going to get. Yeah. So I definitely have those kind of feelings.
Yeah, that happened to me every time I made a pair of dentures in dental school.
Ugh. Yeah, dentures are so meticulous. And
we had to make our own dentures in dental school. Like, actually make the dentures.
Yeah, which... For those of you that aren't very familiar with the dental community, there are people called denturists that go to school to focus solely on dentures.
Yeah, I've been practicing dentistry for 10 years now. I've never made a denture.
Well, no. I think the reason why they had you fabricate them is to understand all the intricacies that go behind them so that it makes you a better practitioner.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's not a better way of doing that is beyond me.
I remember the last pair I ever made in school. I needed 8 pairs to graduate, and I made 8 pairs exactly because they were so stupid. And the last pair I ever made, I needed, what was his name? Anyways, it was one of the prosthodontists. I had to check him off. And I was just thinking like, oh my goodness, like I just hope he passes me because I just want to graduate. And he came, he checked him. He passed him off, but I had to go down to his office to get him to sign the paperwork. And I go down there, and he signs it. And obviously he was one of these guys that didn't really care about the clinical part of school. He was just there to do his research. And he hands me his paper. He's like, yeah, those probably have to be replaced in like 6 months, but whatever. Here you go. I was like, I don't care, man. I'm out of here. I'm never doing dentures again in my life.
Yeah, and then he's probably thinking, well, this is perfect because another student will have a chance to like come in and practice again.
I'm a very good dentist. If you need me for dentures, don't come. And I tell people this.
But the thing is, they can come to you for dentures because you don't fabricate them. You send them to a denturist. There's still a lot
of stuff I have to do. Getting the vertical dimension.
Yeah.
All that junk. I will have patients call me that are like referred to me. They're like, oh, he's the nicest. And they'll show up and I'll say, look, I don't do this. If you want me to do it and you want to give me your money, like I'll do it, but I do not do this. So I would highly recommend you go somewhere else. And I will gladly, have this conversation. I can fully admit, this is not my thing.
Dentures are not fun.
If you want to place a bunch of implants in, cool. Let's talk.
Yeah, dentures are
just...
I know my old boss did dentures. He was really good at them.
A lot of old bosses do dentures.
Yeah, he was an older guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So, anyways, that's what the vibe I got. Like, okay, I don't think this is very good, but hey, maybe people will like it and it'll be better than we think it is. And it wasn't at all. So, here we go. Opening day, February 8th, 2001. Superstar Limo opened with the rest of the park, and it was pretty much universally rejected from that point on. Even made fun of. So I have a review that I want to read for you.
Oh, gosh.
This is from the Longview Daily News, which is my new favorite. I don't know where there are. I've never read anything else from them, but I hope they're still in publication.
Because of this review. Okay.
I quote, "The space would be better devoted to something more entertaining, such as audio animatronic dentists doing root canals and all the Imagineers who came up with the idea for Superstar Limo. Burn this ride to the ground and start over." End quote.
Such as. Yeah. That's so mean and so awesome at the same time.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I went with my cousin when I was a sophomore. I think I was a sophomore in high school. And I knew nothing about Disneyland at the time. I knew nothing about its history. I knew nothing about its financial woes. All I knew was California Adventure was brand new. And I remember thinking it was really pretty, but kind of boring.
The ride.
The whole park.
Oh, the whole park.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember riding this ride and getting off and being very, very confused. And I liken it to going out to lunch with all of your friends and like everyone orders an appetizer and they're all ranting and raving about like how great the deep fried, feta cheese is. And you're just sitting there like, I can't say anything about this because everyone else, I must be the one that's missing that this is good.
Do you not like the deep fried feta?
I love deep fried feta.
Okay.
That was just the first thing that came to my mind.
That was a very bad example.
We have a place here. It's our favorite. They have deep fried feta cheese.
It's so good.
It's this giant block of feta.
That you eat. Oh, it's so good. Okay.
It's good.
So we need to go. Okay.
But it's like you can't understand what you're missing that everyone else is getting. And
But you don't realize is that
everyone's probably in the same boat.
Yeah, no one is really getting it.
Yeah. But that was me after the ride. I was like, well, Disney made it, so it's got to be awesome. And I just don't get it.
I mean,
but no, it actually did suck.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing that Disney doesn't do, it's give up.
That's true.
And if you don't believe me, go look at their current rendition of Star Wars. Because it is atrociously bad based on viewership, but they keep pumping it out.
Why do they just don't know? They don't give up.
I don't know. I'm not saying you can't like it, but not many people do. But they're just hemorrhaging money left and right, making it. So yeah, they don't give up.
Right.
Kudos to them. So on January 11th,
that's my birthday.
Your birthday, 2011. Less than 1 year after opening, guess what happened to Superstar Limo?
Did you say 2011 or 2001?
I don't know what I said, but I should have said 2002.
Oh, yeah.
Which is none of those things.
Yeah, you said 2011. You meant 2002.
January 11th, 2002.
Yeah.
Less than a year later.
Yeah.
From its opening date.
It closed.
Bum, bum, bum.
And then what is it now?
Well, we'll get there.
Oh, we're still getting there. Okay.
It was so bad and got such bad press that Disney literally decided it is better to have an abandoned building in our brand new park than to keep this ride open.
Wow. I wonder what the world really would have done if they would have just kept going with what they had.
Yeah. I mean... Yeah, I don't know. You take really bad... If the ride was originally, let's say, as awesome as they were excited about and thinking it was going to be, I mean, you take really bad press for a year or two, but by now, no one cares.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe it would almost be like...
But I really feel like after the Princess Diana thing, paparazzi changed in general.
Oh, it did.
Like, it became a bad word.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's still the same. I mean, you have like TMZ and stuff, but I don't know if hordes of paparazzi chasing you around is as much of a thing anymore.
No, I don't know. I mean, or if they just keep it under wraps better or whatever. I'm just wondering if they wouldn't have changed, their original plan. What would that have looked like? Would that have been like sometimes kind of appalling press still is more like their curiosity would drive them to keep going, right? Because it just seems like when they tried to flip the idea, it doesn't sound like a great option, And so I wonder what would have happened if they would have just run with what they had already fabricated. That's too bad for them. But anyway, so they thought it was better to have an abandoned building than to have it be open less than a year later. That is really bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And especially when you have like no other rides in your park.
Yeah. So then what did they end up doing?
So they had a few ideas. Idea one, they thought maybe, so remember the Disney stores that used to be like called the malls and stuff?
Like any Disney store, and you were super excited if your mall had one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this was about the time they were shutting most of those down.
Okay.
And so remember like when you would go to those stores, like up on the top, there'd be like big life-size versions of a lot of the classic characters. There'd be like Pongo, whatever, from the 101 Dalmatians and big Mickey Mouses. And
no, I don't.
They're almost like, they're not statues because they were in full color, but they're just like these big, almost like mannequins of
characters,
classic Disney characters.
Okay.
So suddenly Disney had like hundreds and hundreds of these things. Dopies and Dalmatians and Cruella de Vil's and Ursulas and Mickeys and Goofies lying around because they're shutting all these stores down. So they thought, okay, well, maybe we could turn this into Goofy's limousine ride. And Goofy would give you a tour of Hollywood, but we'll put all these iconic characters in using all these old Disney store props that we have. Which actually, at the time, was probably a pretty good idea because there was no presence of Disney in the park. Like, which is just, in retrospect, mind-blowing. Like, okay, you're the most successful entertainment company of all time, and you're not going to put any of that in your park?
It is kind of dumb, actually.
I mean, now it's Pixar Pier and Marvel's Campus, and it's very, very, very heavily themed.
Oh, which it yes, it should be.
They built the Tower of Terror shortly after this, but it was the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, and now it's the Guardians of the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. It's all themed. And
which actually I really liked Tower of Terror.
Well, I did too, but I just like spooky stuff, so...
But I mean, even the whole fun concept, and I don't even know if that came from a movie or whatever, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it as Guardians of the Galaxy, but I think I like it better.
Yeah, Michael Eisner actually wanted to build a new hotel/ride all in one. So almost think Tower of Terror, but it actually was a hotel that you could stay in as well.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, but obviously never happened either.
Never happened. Okay, so they tried to turn.
So that was an idea they had.
Oh, but
they didn't really try it, but that was an idea that they thought maybe we can retheme it, and at least bring a little nostalgia to it.
I think that would have worked.
I think it would have worked better, but they didn't do that.
Okay.
So then they had a second idea, which was they're right at this time in the middle of acquiring the rights for Jim Henson's Muppets.
The Muppets.
The Muppets. This idea I thought was brilliant. They would redo the ride as Mrs. Piggy's limo ride. I'm not a big Muppet person. Like Mrs. Piggy wouldn't talk to me, but it would a lot of other people. She's very popular. But during the overhaul, this is the brilliant thing. They were going to leave the ride open as they remodeled it. And they were going to put a bunch of Muppets in, like wearing hard hats and running bulldozers and stuff. And they would literally make fun of how bad the joke was or the ride was. And that's why they were having to tear it down and redo it. Now, that's pretty, I mean, if you can make fun of yourself, most of the time people appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
And then when it was done, they would open it as Miss Piggy's and it would be whatever they planned on it being. So that was an idea that was floated, but never.
Oh, it never went to fruition
either? Never came to fruition either.
That would have been hilarious. Because those guys, really those two good. That banter back and forth, they go at and make fun of everything and everyone. That would have been great.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
So they ended up building a 4D Muppet Theater over there in Hollywoodland.
Okay. Is that what took place?
Nope.
Okay.
But they did do something over there with the Muppets. When it first opened, they didn't have Bug's Life. Like that wasn't there, which is already gone now. Like the Tough to Be a Bug, that wasn't there when it first opened.
That was really cute.
That was great.
The Bug's Land.
Yeah, little flick. So it did eventually open in 2005. It reopened with its new theming, and it is still open that way today. So what can you think of that's over in Hollywood area?
It's like that museum thing.
It's a ride. It's the only ride over there in that part of the park.
Yeah, what's over there to the left? The Monsters, Inc. one?
Mm-hmm. It's now Monsters, Inc.
The Monsters, Inc. one.
Yep.
Okay.
So now it is Mike and Sully to the rescue. And that was part of a $1.5 billion facelift to the whole park when they decided we got to ditch this California crap and make it Disney.
Wow.
Which I think $1.5 billion was more than the actual original park. I think the original park was $1.4 billion.
Oh, wow. But it was worth it.
4 years later.
But it was worth it.
Oh, I mean, it's a money-making machine now.
Yeah. It's amazing. It legitimately is awesome.
But so it was fairly inexpensive redo. And this is really funny. Because a whole bunch of Superstar Limo still lives on inside of the attraction. And I never knew this.
So like you only see Mike and Sully's ride, like a portion of what is actually in there. And they just left the other part.
So the track and everything's the exact same.
Okay.
So like the front facade of
Mike and Sully's
is the exact same thing. They just repainted it.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a picture here in a second. That's what I'm doing on my phone, if you're wondering.
Well, but the inside of the ride.
So the inside they rethemed and they repainted a lot of it.
Oh, I want to ride it again now with knowing this information.
They just swapped out a lot of the posters and accessories and put them in. So if you ride it now, there's taxi cabs.
Yes.
Exact same ride. They just painted the purple limos to look like taxi cabs now.
Okay.
But this is the craziest thing. A bunch of the celebrities are still in there. They have literally just covered them up as...
Like Mike or Sully?
No, what's the agency that has to like go in when you touch a human?
Oh, yeah.
So look at this picture. This is literally the Drew Carey.
Oh, that is hilarious.
There. He just is dressed now in a
hazmat suit. Yes.
And isn't that nuts?
That's hilarious.
It's the exact same statue thing.
Yeah, it is.
They just covered it.
Yep.
There's another one, and I don't know if you can recall this. There's a point where there's one of those yellow guys. I can't think what they're called from Monsters, Inc.
Wherever.
But when you touch a human, they all rush in, and
clean you off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he's rappelling down from the ceiling.
Okay.
So that was Jackie Chan doing like a kick across the sky.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And they just covered
him up.
That's hilarious.
And so a whole bunch of it's still there, just, looks a little different.
Yeah.
And Disney's pretty good at that. There used to be, what was it called? Oh, I don't remember. Shoot.
While you're thinking. That's fine. It'll bug you. But while you're thinking, you keep thinking. I've ridden that ride. And I thought it was cute for what it was worth. It's
just a typical dark ride.
Yeah, it's one of those typical dark rides. I remember when the Winnie the Pooh one opened up, and for some reason, Japanese people love Winnie the Pooh. Like, they love him. And the lineup was like 3 hours long.
In Disneyland.
Yeah.
Tokyo Disneyland.
No.
Oh.
I think in Disney, over by Splash Mountain.
Critter Country?
Yeah.
Which is also gone now.
But I mean, I remember there being in line with so many Japanese people, and they were so excited, and they didn't care if they had to wait. And I like Winnie the Pooh.
Dude, I love the Winnie the Pooh ride.
Yeah, and I think it's a good
Even
ride.
Though it's like extremely...
But it's very...
kiddish.
Yes, but I remember going through it like... Yeah, I don't know. That was not worth the 3-hour wait. Now, again, every new ride, though, is like super long wait, right?
Yeah. Most times,
and it was like the newest ride to have opened. And I swear every Japanese person that was visiting United Continental, because I wasn't in Japan at this time, literally they were so excited for this ride. And it's really cute. And I love, the story and the dream and whatever. But
Heffalumps and Woozles, man.
I know.
Lincoln actually just tonight was telling me how cool his Woozle is.
He loves what's his Woozle? Yeah.
Which is funny because he got it like 6 years ago.
Yeah. And I remember talking to him about it because he wanted to know where his next Lego could go. And I said, well, what about on the shelf with your Woozle? And he kind of thought about it. He's like, oh, yeah, my Woozle. Oh, yeah. Kind of rekindled his.
That makes sense why he was talking to me about it.
But I think you specifically had to try to find that Woozle.
It was very hard to find.
Very hard to find a Woozle. So if anyone has a kid out there that wants a Heffalump or Woozle,
it's tricky.
I mean, eBay, I think, is really the only way to go here.
Yeah.
Did you ever think of what you're trying to think of?
No. Maybe. So there was a thing back in Disneyland, I believe it's called America Sings. I never saw it. I had a bunch of singing and audio animatronics of like birds and junk. And they moved all those into Splash Mountain. Oh. Like they reused all those animatronics. That's so like when you go through Splash Mountain and they're all singing on the boat.
Yeah, that's them.
That's them, which is all gone now because now it's all Tiana's Bayou.
Which is it open?
Not at Disneyland. It is at Disney World.
But it's not
been a disastrous failure so far. It doesn't seem to work very often.
Oh.
I think it's broken lots and lots and lots. It's only been up a couple weeks. But it should open soon.
But they've been working on the one at California forever.
It's been a couple years probably, yeah.
Why is it taking so long?
I don't know. But speaking of Winnie the Pooh ride, when you first, I don't remember which room it is now, but when you first go into one of the rooms, if you turn around and look behind you, which you never would, there's no need to, there's a big moose up on the wall, and that's from Country Jamboree. Oh. When they closed it, they put him in there. So he's in Winnie the Pooh just as for fun.
Oh,
it's like an Easter egg.
That's cute.
Yeah.
And I remember the petting zoo and thinking that was pretty fun. That's not there. Like, I mean, they've made a lot of big changes. Yeah. They've made a lot of big changes. But anyway, okay, so it's now the Monsters, Inc. ride. They've kind of redeemed themselves. Is that everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's everything. Like I said, I remember riding it and just thinking like, well, that was a really, really weird, boring ride.
I mean, I can only imagine. It sounds like a terrible premise.
And that it was.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
But I remember thinking all of California Adventure was kind of a big nothing burger.
Yeah. They've definitely had to adapt.
But now it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But they've built.
I was very sad when they were getting rid of Bugs Life, Bugs Land. I loved their 4D show and, but I'm actually still surprised that they chose, I'm going to sneeze here. Excuse me. Chose to elaborate so much on A Bug's Life because I don't think it was really all that popular. Like, I don't know why they haven't picked up Tangled and run with it because there's a million people out there that love.
I think Disney World actually does have
a Tangled ride.
A Rapunzel Tower.
Oh. Like a ride or like, interesting.
We're not Disney World people. We're Disneyland people.
Yeah. It's a truth.
They're very different.
They are very different animals. We've been there,
But I can understand why they got rid of it at California Adventure because when you have a couple $1 billion movies like Endgame and Infinity War, you maximize on that. And you put in Marvel.
I'm just kind of surprised that they even made a whole land out of it. Just the 4D video, kind of like the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, kind of.
Well, they had really cute little kid rides there.
They sure did. It was like almost their kid land. Yeah. That was like their cute little rides.
You spent some time there.
Definitely. Oh, man. Yes.
There was something funny about the bathrooms there. I don't remember what it was. But like when you flush the toilets, they made some funny noise like from the movies or something. From the movies, I don't remember now.
There was a lot of cute little things in that little land.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
Anyway, see, this is why Disney sells nostalgia. Or why they should sell it better. Like that's the thing that they have.
Oh, for sure. That is what they need to hold on to. If they get rid of that, it won't work.
It won't work.
Yeah, it just won't work. But
so,
well, anyway, there you go.
Interesting though.
So the
Superstar Limo,
Princess
Go
Diana's
look it up on YouTube.
Tragic situation altered their whole. I mean, Disney's not hurting. Maybe they are hurting. But
their stock's under $100.
I mean, they're kind of kicking themselves in their own foot, though. So
this is true.
In their own.
Oh, I just splashed water on my face.
Oh, that's cool. It's probably refreshing.
Yeah, it was actually. So, dump it all.
Well, our tiny little studio closet room, for some reason, they didn't attach it to our central heating or air conditioning, and I still can't figure out why they didn't do that.
Because it was a closet.
Sure, but I mean. It's not like the ducks aren't running right next door to that room and that
Generally, you don't want to spend the money to cool down a closet.
I guess not. It's a giant double closet. Like, we can literally fit a whole bed. We can fit a whole bed in here. But yeah, I'm like, should we pay to have ductwork if we're going to keep this as our little studio?
I could probably do it.
Just right through there?
From there to there. Probably wouldn't be to co-op, but who cares?
Yeah, it's a closet.
It's a closet.
It's a studio. Make it sound better.
That's right.
It's a studio.
for our super famous podcast.
On that note, we are going to get out of our closet studio.
We'll have to wait a whole nother week for another episode. But thank you so much for listening. We will be back with some other story next week. And until then, stay cool if you're anywhere near us. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.